Hello everybody. Welcome to STEAM Week. Medicine and dentistry can lead to satisfying careers that allow you to serve your communities. Dr. Gregory V. Wadden is an orthodontist, the career of a lifetime, who creates healthy and beautiful smiles. An adjunct assistant professor of orthodontics at the University of the Pacific Arthur A. Dugoni School of Dentistry. Dr. Wadden will focus on the question, can you be passionate about your career so that you can enjoy going to work?
Thank you. I have some slides here, so I don't make too many mistakes. Anyway, I want to thank you, the students, the teachers, and administrators of Altos High School for giving me the opportunity to speak with you today. Hope to give you some insight into why you should consider dentistry, and especially orthodontics, as a career. I want to augment the generic information on the accompanying slides with my personal thoughts. So, at one time, 55, 60 years ago, I was in your seat. And I was a high school student in Washington, D.C., about 8 blocks from the U.S. Capitol. And after high school, then I went to the University of Maryland for 4 years. And if you want to go into dentistry, you have to take the same pre-med courses as you have to go to medical school. So you need physics, you need math, you need chemistry, you need biology, and you have to not just take those classes, but you have to do well because it's pretty competitive these days. And if you don't do well, then you pick another career. So, after 4 years at the University of Maryland, I spent 4 years at Georgetown University going to dental school. And then after dental school, I had a 1-year rotating dental internship at DeWitt Army Hospital, Fort Belvoir, Virginia, in conjunction with Walter Reed Army Hospital. And then after that, Uncle Sam brought me here to California, and I spent 2 years at Army base, and during that 2-year time, I practiced general dentistry. And then after I got my time in the Army fulfilled, I decided I was going to do specialty training, and so I decided to go into orthodontics. And orthodontic training typically is 27 months to 36 months in length. And the cost varies somewhere probably between $50,000 and $300,000 just for orthodontic education. So it's a bunch of money. Anyway, so let's go through some of these slides here, and then I'm going to add some comments. Okay, so what is an orthodontist? An orthodontist is a specialist in diagnosis, prevention, and treatment of dental and facial irregularities. What does that mean? Okay, create healthy, beautiful smiles. What's a healthy smile? Well, each top tooth properly meets its opposite tooth in the bottom jaw. So you have good function, so you can bite, chew, eat, speak, and teeth that work together properly tend to look better. Beautiful smile and implies a healthy bite. So this is what I told you that I did. So about 6% of dentists go on to become orthodontists. Generally, the orthodontic students that we accept at Pacific and most orthodontic programs are the cream of the crop. So you have to, not only you have to get into dental school, but you have to perform well in dental school to become an orthodontist. Otherwise, you become a different specialist or a general dentist. All right, so we look at patients coming in and we look at the patients. Plaster molds. Actually, plaster molds are kind of outdated. We don't use plaster molds anymore because everything's digital. So we do a scan of the teeth. We don't put any gooey stuff in the mouth anymore. Scan the teeth. Takes 5 minutes or so. Comes up to the computer. We can take it all. We turn it in, out, all around. Look at the teeth. and get an idea of how the upper teeth fit with the lower teeth, what the alignment of the teeth is. We take x-rays. These days, this is a little bit outdated. We actually have what's called a CBCT machine, which is a 3D x-ray machine. So we can take the skull and we can look at it inside, outside, do slices through it, and look at any structure we want in the head and the mouth. So this is a little bit out of date. We still use this technology, but we draft this out of a CBCT x-ray. And so this is an example of some braces on the teeth, and the braces are just handles on the teeth. And so you got to be able to move the tooth somehow. So you grab onto the tooth with this handle, and then the wires actually align the teeth. So years ago, up until the late 40s, braces were made out of gold, and they were all handmade. The wires were individually made. Everything was, there was no preformed orthodontic appliances. Today, everything is preformed, and you can, if I have a patient, I can take models in the x-rays, and I can send it to a lab, and the lab will send me back a custom appliance that will move that patient's teeth from A to B approximately. There's some detailing that still needs to be done, but that's the basic concept that happens. The same thing actually happens with Invisalign. And the term, I don't know if any of you have heard the term aligner. Okay, so aligner is a term that I coined here in Altos about 1997, because Invisalign was actually founded in Redwood City, and there were two orthodontists, two computer programmers, and two MBAs from Stanford that were involved in the original startup of Invisalign. So what happens with Invisalign? Same thing. We take a set of models, take some x-rays, whatever, we send it to Invisalign, and Invisalign sets the teeth up in a very good alignment, and then it comes back to us on a computer, and we adjust it for that patient, and then send it back to Invisalign for a couple of redos, and then authorize Invisalign to create some clear aligners. And the clear aligners, so if you look at this set of teeth here, we go back, see these models. So Invisalign has 3D printed models that they produce, and on each 3D printed model, so they have one that starts out with the teeth malaligned, and the next one a little bit less malaligned, a little bit less, a little bit less, a little bit less. And so there's a gentle force on each one that moves the teeth gradually. The wires do the same thing, but the wires are put in by the orthodontic or the orthodontist or the orthodontist assistant, and the wires individually move the teeth. Well, we get to see the patient for over a couple of years' time. And so I get to see young people coming in, and then they graduate a couple of years later, and they're not the same young person anymore. Now they're, a lot of times, almost looking like young adults. So I have children come in, and they're beautiful teenagers when they get finished. I had a boy many years ago, and he was 12 years old, a young-looking boy. And he finished a couple years later, he was 14, he was as tall as I was, and he had a mustache. And so we do see changes over time, and it's amazing some of the changes that we do see. And it changes the person's perception about themselves. So how you relate to other people is important. And other people look at you and they judge you from when they first see you, okay? They haven't talked to you or anything, but they judge you. And part of what they do is they judge your appearance. And that's not fair. A lot of things aren't fair, okay? It's not fair that some of our parents have more money than others. It's not fair that Some of us are smarter than others. It's not fair that some of us are taller than others. A lot of things aren't fair, but that's life. And you have to do the best you can to deal with those things. Anyway, let's go on 3 slides here a little bit more. So clear aligners I'm talking about, there's a number of them now that compete with Invisalign. So clear aligners is a standard type. Palatal expanders, most of the ones we use today are actually fixed onto the teeth, and if you look at the one on the top on the left there, there's a mid-palatal suture in the upper jaw, and we can put force on the teeth, and it opens up that suture and makes the upper jaw permanently wider than it was before. So the name orthodontics is a little bit out of date. The specialty changed its name about 10 years ago to dental facial orthopedics. And we adjust the face basically in people whose upper jaws don't match the lower jaws correctly. We can slow down or accelerate the growth of the upper jaw. We can push the upper jaw toward the floor of the nose more. Sometimes we can't do this very well because we have non-growing patients, we have adults. So we have to use orthodontic surgery in adult patients to achieve the same result. But today, and this is in the last 10 years or so, we can do palatal expansion on people that are not growing anymore. We can do it on people up to 25 years old with the use of pins. So we put some temporary dental implants in the mouth, and we use those dental implants to push the 2 halves of the jaw apart to make the upper jaw larger than it would be. At the same time, that breaks some of the other sutures, and we can oftentimes bring the upper jaw a little further forward in the face than for patients that have underbites. So after we're finished, the teeth want to move back to where they were before, because there's memory built into the teeth. So it wants to go back to where it was yesterday. In order to prevent that from occurring, we use something called retainers. And retainers just retain or hold the teeth in place while the bone around them forms in and gets stronger. What do I do all day? Other than twiddle my thumbs, because I have assistants, right? Well, first I come in the morning and I have to look and see what I'm doing that day. And I meet with the staff and we go over any special problems that may occur that day. And then, see patients all day. Okay? So the patients come in and they ask, everybody has a different problem. No 2 problems are the same. No 2 patients are the same. They have different personalities. Some need more hand-holding, some need less. Some are more effervescent, some are less. But so I see patients all day. Another example here. I also wouldn't have any patients if I didn't see some new patients from time to time. So I see prospective patients, and they come in and with a parent usually, unless they're an adult, and then they come in by themselves, obviously. Although I've had some adults come in with their parents also. So we meet with prospective patients and we talk about their problems and what we can do to make their problems better. And then we go over the diagnostic records, the mold x-rays, photographs. And so after hours though, what do I do? Well, I work up diagnosis, contact primary care dentist about the treatment reports, and it depends the business side of my practice. Okay, so the business side of my practice. What is that? Well, so you got a card here. Okay. Treating patients is only part of the life of an orthodontist. There's the business of the practice. Most practices employ somewhere between 4 and 15 people. how do you continually motivate and manage a staff? The more employees, the more interactions there are, and more chance of conflict. Their supplies, telephones, insurance, rent, and loans to be repaid. And what if the toilet overflows in the middle of the day? Someone needs to take care of those tasks. Additionally, there's always new products and techniques that need to be incorporated into a practice. Do all this and find time to spend with your families. Fortunately, most established orthodontists work a 4-day week, so there's some time left over to do some of those things. So I told you a second ago that there's all these new techniques coming into orthodontics all the time, new products. And so orthodontics is a lot different today than when I started 40 years ago. And I wouldn't be a very good orthodontist if I was the same orthodontist I was 40 years ago. So techniques evolve, people evolve, and so how do you keep up on that? Well, you have to take continuing education, and the state of California actually requires all dentists and physicians and nurses to take a certain number of continuing education hours every year in order to keep their license. So, as I said before, we work with the patients an extended period of time, giving them an opportunity to know them well. And I mentioned before about how we can change people's lives. So I remember I had a woman come in, and actually I had a couple of different women come in years ago, and they had very bad malocclusion. Malocclusion is a bad bite. So we got their bite corrected, and their face changed appreciably, and their personality changed, and they felt so much better about themselves that they ended up divorcing their husbands because the husband they married before was good enough for the way they were before, but now they felt different about themselves. They decided to do it. There was a show on many years ago on Friday nights, and it was a competitor with 60 Minutes. It was called 2020. And 2020 took some models. They had a male model and a female model, and they sent them out to job interviews. Well, what they found was that invariably, the more attractive either male or female model got the job. And they interviewed one brokerage firm and said, well, why'd you hire this person versus this person? Well, we find that people that are more attractive are able to sell our product better. So, so they decided, okay, well, when did it start? So what they did was they took a couple of actresses and they sent them into kindergarten classes. And there were about 25 students in each class, and in the morning, actress A went into class A, and actress B went into class B, and they had certain lessons that they performed, and they and what they found was that 24 out of the 25 students thought the more attractive teacher was the better teacher. So they said, well, you know, maybe it was because teacher A was reading Frog and Toad with her friends, and that's the example they used, and teacher B was doing something else, and so they flip-flopped it the next day to two completely different classrooms, and they got the same results. So, again, as I said earlier, it's not fair, life's not fair, but we have to deal with the cards we're dealt and make the best of it. Fortunately, as an orthodontist, you have an opportunity to help some of our doing it every day. I actually look forward to going to work. And I still work 1 day a week, even though I'm 77 years old. I don't have to work. I have enough money where I don't have to work. But I work because I want to work. And if you have a job where you really don't want to go to work, you probably shouldn't be doing that job. You ought to find yourself another career. Okay. So we change people's lives by changing our smiles. Every patient's case is different, so there's technical and creative considerations every day. So let's see. I need to address this also. So I've been asked to make sure that there's some math content in my talk. I should have put this elsewhere in the presentation. An orthodontist is basically a mouth engineer. You need to be able to figure out how many degrees you want to move a root, how do I open the bite, etc. You need to make these calculations for each patient at each appointment so that you are continually doing calculations, and after a while it becomes automatic. Your brain just figures it out. But you can't do this without a degree or without training in math and the sciences. So I would encourage you to learn everything you can in high school to prepare you better when you get to college so that you can be successful in college. The lady, Madeline, that checked me in at the desk out there, she said, she said, you're a dentist? I said, yes. And she said, what kind of dentist are you? I said, I'm an orthodontist. She said, my orthodontist changed my life. And I said, really? She said, oh yes, I'm an engineer now because he inspired me so much, I became an engineer. I said, what was your orthodontist name? His name was Shelley Baldwin. Well, Shelley Baldwin passed away about 15 years ago, but Shelley Baldwin for years practiced in Berkeley, California, but he inspired this lady to become an engineer, and I didn't ask her that, she told me that. So we work with people who are generally healthy, and not a lot of germs or bad things that we're exposed to. So what happens with general dentists, for instance, or periodontists or endodontists, and I'll talk about some of these specialists a little bit later, is that they basically have a mouth that's broken down and they try to fix it up back to where it used to be. So if there's a hole in a tooth, they take the decay out of the tooth, and they fill that tooth up with a material and try to patch the tooth back up so that it's sort of like the way it was originally. But the tooth is never as good as it was with the Lord made it. And the same thing is true if you have gum disease. And gum disease happens to be the major cause of tooth loss in people over 30. If the gum specialist or the periodontist works on that patient's gums, yes, he can make the gums better, but he can't put them back to the way they were originally. So, as an orthodontist, we take something that's not as good as it could be, and we have to make it better than it was the way the Lord gave that person that smile. And so people look at you and they look at your face, they look at your eyes, and they look at your teeth a lot of times. And how much tooth do you show? Well, you don't show any tooth at all. Well, I don't show any teeth. And when you're old. Well, so the average person, average female, your age, shows about 4 millimeters of tooth. Average male shows about 3 millimeters, not very much, but a little bit. And that's just relaxed. When you smile, ideally, you want to show the whole tooth and maybe 1 or 2 millimeters of gum. You have some patients that come in and they show maybe 5 or 6 millimeters of gum. And they say, can you make it so I don't show so much gum when I smile? I said, yes, I can do that. Okay. On the other hand, we have some patients come in and they're 12 years old and they don't show any tooth at all when they're relaxed, like I am. Well, the problem with that is it's not going to get better over time. If anything, it's going to get worse. Because for most of us, what happens is, as we get older, our face is static. And that's why people get plastic surgery, pull their face up a bit. But I can make it so I can pull the teeth down. I can't pull the teeth down as well as I can push them up without doing some jaw surgery, but I can pull them down a couple of millimeters to give that person some incisal display so their smile will look younger when they're 25 and 35, and maybe it won't prematurely age them as much. All right. So events, personal and professional satisfaction, you practice almost anywhere you want. There's a demand for orthodontists all across the country. Maybe not as much in California as some other places because everybody wants to come to California, it seems like. Although you've heard the tech people moving out to Texas and everywhere else. So you get to be your own boss. You don't have anybody else telling you what to do. You can work till you're older if you want. Company doesn't tell you, okay, you gotta retire now, you're 65 or whatever, you gotta quit, you wanna keep working, you keep working. And most of the studies out there show that people that are keep their minds going stay young longer. So anything you can do to keep your mind working is something that's gonna keep you working upstairs better long term. And nobody wants to lose their mental capacity. If you don't have anybody else telling you what to do, you can decide, okay, I want to work 4 days a week. I want to work 6 days a week. You can work however many hours a week you want. So, how do you do that? Well, you can have your own practice. You can have partners. You can teach. I volunteer teach on Monday afternoons, and we get paid to do it. I try to give back to my community. They provided me with an education. I think I owe that to the next generation to help them learn about orthodontics. And so I teach at Pacific, and I've taught there for over 20 years. You can do research. There's all the dental schools have research facilities, as does the National Institute of Health. The military needs dentists also. They need dentists, they need orthodontists. So, my nephew's an oral surgeon, and he's at Walter Reed right now. After Army paid for his dental school at UCLA. And then he went to Parkland in Dallas for his oral surgery training. And so many oral surgeons these days, including my nephew, also have an MD degree. So he's an MD and a dentist. And actually in Italy, all dentists are MDs. You go to medical school first before you go to dental school in Italy. And you work for public health agencies. Demand continues, especially with the clear appliances, and it's going to be more, and more we can do in the future with clear aligners and Invisalign. They're getting better and better all the time. It may be in the future we have some genetic potential to make the teeth better, but that's not going to be here for many, many, many years. We may be able to grow teeth again in the future if you lose a tooth. I hope we'll be able to do that. So orthodontic treatment can usually help about 3 or 4 people. Most patients start treatment between the ages of 9 and 14, and adults can also benefit. Okay, so we talked about this a minute ago. Take classes in math, science, business, psychology, art, because orthodontists are basically artists also. We decide what your teeth should look like in your face, and then you have some input on that. Oh, I don't want to be so toothy. I want to be more toothy, whatever. I want a broader smile. I don't want my smile so broad, whatever. So, but there's an art in terms of how we put that in each person's face. And you need hand-eye coordination. So many years ago, before I went to dental school, one of the things they did was they gave us a big piece of chalk, and it was about, I don't know, 5 inches long, and it was probably about the diameter of a quarter, and we had to carve certain cutouts in that, and this one would be half an inch long and third of an inch deep or whatever, and it was to see what kind of hand-eye coordination you had. Today, that's on computers and depth perception, and they show you this view and they show you this view. What does it look like on the third view? This, or this one? So to give you multiple choice questions on that. Okay, so college, major in science or math, but it's not necessarily true. My roommate in college was a dentist in Chestertown, Maryland, on the eastern shore of Maryland. And he went to school at the University of Maryland, and he majored in economics, because that's what he liked. And so he minored in dentistry, so he made sure he got all his sciences in, but he majored in economics. So then dental schools we talked about for 4 years. Average dental school was 4 years. The dentist next door to me in Milpitas, his daughter just finished her dental school training at the University of Pennsylvania. Well, the University of Pennsylvania has a program where if you go 3 years undergraduate or pre-dental, they'll give you your dental degree after 4 years, and they also give you your baccalaureate degree after your first year of dental school. So there are probably some other universities that offer the same program, but they have everything. Difficult to get into that. Okay, then there's like residency, about 450 applicants is accepted. And let's see, 115, that's a pretty low percentage, but you have to remember, the 15 that are applying, you don't have many people that are applying that are in the bottom half of their class, because they're not getting accepted anyway. So 1 out of 15 are from the better students in the class. So there's 66 accredited orthodontic programs in the United States, although there may be a couple more in the future. There's a new dental school area called North State University. There's a dental and medical school at North State University in Elk Grove area. And so probably more in the future. You know, population's growing, and you train to work with business. Okay, three, four. Well, bad in your tooth. Then you had a lot of pain. Wake up